Welcome back everyone, One Dragon here. Today I'm going to go over how to beat Don't Fear the Reaper underleveled, and this is a build and walkthrough updated for patch 1.31. Each patch has changed the low level approach to Don't Fear the Reaper slightly, either directly like removing the first autosave, or indirectly like adding crit stacking and removing the ability to quick hack through walls. Firstly, I'll go over the build, then a walkthrough discussing the changes to the strategy, and I'll do a room by room walkthrough. Low leveling Don't Fear the Reaper is based on a few main concepts. Number 1, scaling and the red skull. When enemies are of a higher level, they deal insane amounts of damage and take significantly less damage. Number 2, assume everything will one-shot you. I believe that the smart weapons might 2-hit you, but it's best to assume that everything will 1-hit you. Therefore, for the most part, we'll be using walls to avoid getting hit. And number 3, enemies are super tanky due to being level 50 or at least significantly higher level than the player. As a result, the build will have a range of methods to deal with the enemies. Some of the highest DPS weapons, or weapons which knock out the enemy regardless of level. Okay, so taking a look at the build, you can see that I'm level 23. Can do this at a lower level, however you'll have less access to resources and abilities to deal with enemies, so level 23 is my recommended level. Typically I start with 6 technical ability, 6 intelligence, and 4 reflexes in character creation, and then eventually I aim to hit 18 technical ability and 16 intelligence. Taking a look at the perks, I've got Grease Monkey and Edgerunner Artisan, mainly to craft those legendary weapons which are way better than just buying weapons from the stores. Field Technician adds that 10% extra damage, and the rest of the perks are just for money really. In engineering, I've invested some points in Lickety Split, Tesla, and Ubercharge. These increase the damage of our tech weapons or decrease the charge time. And we also have Blade Runner here, which increases the damage to drones, mechs, and robots by 40%. The mechs are going to be the tankiest enemies that we have to fight and destroy in Don't Fear the Reaper, so any additional damage is useful. Taking a look at the intelligence tree, I don't have any perks invested into Breach Protocol. Of course, if you use Breach Protocol in your runs and you find any of these demons useful, you can invest additional perks here. I do have 8 perks unspent after all. In terms of quick hacking, the most important perk by far is Critical Error, as it allows your quick hacks to deal crit damage based on the crit chance and crit damage on your stat page. Signal support is good for ping duration as well as short circuit. Bloodware for that additional damage. Biosynergy, Forget Me Not, and Mnemonic are quite good for RAM management. Subliminal Message, Plague, and Diffusion aren't really important at all. Now, you can see that I'm not level 20, but I'm still using legendary quick hacks, and this is because you can get free legendary quick hacks by using access points in the Wood and City Center missions. So just going over some of the other ones that I've invested into, these don't really help you that much because you're in combat for most of the time. Cold Blood is the next really important one, as it allows you to get this 10% crit chance here. It's one of the best early game ways of getting crit chance, is just putting 1 perk into Cold Blood. In reflexes, I have Eagle Eye and Bullet Jock. This is just additional damage for me, and the rest are pretty much uninvested. Like, this is just carrying capacity for my playthrough, and that's it. Next, taking a look at the weapons. The most important weapon that we're going to be using today is the Widowmaker. It has a huge amount of damage despite what it shows on the DPS card. As it doesn't have any crit chance or crit damage on the base stats, we use our global stats to amplify the damage here, and the secondary weapon is the Problem Solver. Now, I typically re-roll Problem Solver to get the stats that are on here, and of course I modify both of them with crunch mods, as Problem Solver is a really fast firing gun and the Widowmaker is a gun that has multiple projectiles when you fire it. The third weapon, the Moron Lab that I have here, you can of course just swap it out and bring any weapon of your choice. It's not really that important, and I don't use it in the run. Now, taking a look at the cyberware, my recommended operating system is the Tetratonic Rippler MK4, as it allows ultimate quick hacks to spread once. Now, this is really useful if you're using something like System Reset, which ignores how much damage you deal to enemies and is perfect for dealing with enemies that are higher level than you, as it instantly knocks them out. We also have ping, which is essential when using tech weapons, seeing enemies through walls, and short circuit, we're not even using it active, it's mainly for the passive effect, which deals additional damage whenever you crit. Reboot optics, suicide, and cyberware malfunction I don't even use in the run, so you can swap them out for any quick hacks that you want to use. Keep in mind that you can get legendary quick hacks for free by hacking access points in Haywood and the city center. Next, we're taking a look at the projectile launch system. You can use tranquilizer rounds on these, and they are useful for instantly knocking out enemies. We also have neoplastic plating, which is another 10% crit chance, which applies globally. We have reinforced tendons, or the double jump to jump over melee enemies and get onto containers and things like that. We have optical camo, which allows you to use quick hacks on enemies without being shot, as well as going to run and pick up the access token or the key. The Kuroshi Optics MK3, I recommend the trajectory analysis for the additional headshot damage, threat detector for tech weapons, and weak spot detection for that additional 5% crit chance. We have limbic system enhancement in the frontal cortex, as well as visual cortex support for crit chance and crit damage. And once again, we are amplifying our damage to mechs and robots by equipping this mechatronic core, which is just really helpful when fighting mechs. In terms of clothing mods, I have 7 Deadeye mods and 13 Bully mods equipped here. Doesn't really matter where you equip them, but just showing you that it does increase our crit chance and crit damage by a significant margin. If we take a look at the stats page, I have 100% crit chance and 691 crit damage, which is quite a lot. Armor does not matter when you're low leveling just because of how things scale, and health doesn't matter either because in Don't Fear the Reaper it gets reduced anyway. One thing to keep in mind is that you can swap the projectile launch system with optical camo mid-combat and swap to grenades if you wish to use those as well. That's pretty much the build. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and we'll move on to the walkthrough. Alright, before we get into things, I'll be doing the run on the very hard difficulty, and you can turn it down if you'd like. I'm not sure if it makes things less tanky, but you can turn it down to easy. On another note, feel free to move at a slower pace than I'm moving. For example, you can use system reset more frequently and wait around for the RAM to recharge and the cooldown to return. Next, as mentioned earlier, the first autosave has been removed, so it's really important to get to the second floor so you don't have to do that whole 5-minute wait on the rooftop again. Okay, so floor 1, room 1. Before 1.31, the back 2 Arasaki units on the flanks would rush me with their katanas. However, in patch 1.3, the AI was overhauled. At this distance, they'll draw their pistols rather than rush with katanas. Therefore, after piercing the first 2 units with the Widowmaker, I hugged the left wall to line of sight the left guard and used the projectile launcher on the guard on the right side to instantly take them down. Finally, take out the last guard on the left through the wall. Room 2. There are 2 mechs in this room that drop down. You can either shoot them with the Widowmaker or use system reset on them. If you decide to shoot them, aim for the left arm first to knock the first mech into the second one. Keep in mind that each of the arms explode, dealing AoE damage, so therefore knocking one mech in range of the second mech is the strategy that I go for. After taking down the mechs, use remote deactivation on the elevator so that after you grab the keycard, the elevator will already be on the level that you are. This will essentially skip half of the enemies in this room. Once Johnny finishes his dialogue, I rush and crouch by the handrail to take out the remaining 4 enemies that spawn. Next, there should be 2 more melee users and 1 elite mantis blade user with the keycard. The safest way to deal with these guys is to retreat to room 1 and shoot through the walls. Typically I try to get a ping off while retreating and then run very quickly to room 1. After that, you can swap to the optical camo to pick up the keycard in relative safety. I say relative because they still shoot, albeit less accurately.
so good.
Once you pick up the key card, rush to the elevator and hug the right wall so that the third mech that drops down can't shoot you.
Run operations control.
While in the elevator, I recommend reloading your weapons, especially the problem solver since it starts with 35 bullets and you can make it 85.
See how she settles in.
I'd expect a very warm welcome down below.
Once arriving at the second floor, there should be an autosave followed by an ambush of 4 guards.
Ambush, no doubt. Just focus. You're better than
I aim to turn the turret to friendly and ping it. Currently, you can still hack devices through walls, so I take control of the camera, then use that to ping the guards. Make sure to do this quickly as sometimes the guards are alerted by you taking over the camera. This allows me to defeat the guards easily through the wall with the Widowmaker.
Motherfucker's got no love for foreplay. Brace yourself.
From there, a group of 3 will ambush you. You can open with the projectile launcher or just pierce through the walls using the Widowmaker. Sometimes one of the guards will rush you and get pretty close, but don't panic and just aim very carefully or slowly. At the end of the hallway, an elite guard will rush out. You can use the projectile launcher once again, or shoot him normally. Afterwards, there'll be 3 guards in the second room, but I normally take them out from this first room or the hallway. Once you approach the second room, another guard will come out of the doorway across from you, and there'll be a dialogue with Johnny here. During this dialogue, I believe you're out of combat, so you can craft some ammo if you didn't before in the elevator. After the dialogue, 2 guards will rush through that same doorway, so make sure to be prepared for that.
Enemy contact!
Moving on to room 3. Afterwards, you can use the optical camo to safely ping the mech. Next, run to the left side and use this wall as cover to take out the group of robots, 3 guards, and the mech. Once you drop down and approach the exit to this room, there'll be 1 elite Mantis Blade guard and 3 more katana users. I highly recommend using System Reset here to take out the first 2 units, and then you can shoot the last 2 or use the projectile launcher again. If you find that you are struggling with this section or those melee users get to you, you can retreat backwards to the container and double jump on top of the container using the problem solver, as it's one of the highest DPS weapons in close range. Room 4. This is the last room before the Smasher fight. There'll be 3 guards on the right hand staircase moving downward. I aim to ping these guards to take out both the robots and the guards through the walls. Afterwards, use the computer to activate the mainframe.
Alright. Not exactly seeing any slots.
Uniform was under the floor, most likely. Need to find a way to eject it.
Nah, like a goddamn adventure.
I personally like to use the desk and the computers to block enemy shots. These enemies will spawn in a couple of groups, so you can wait for them all to spawn before using ping or take them down slowly. Just remember that ping will only outline the units that have spawned, so keep in mind that they spawn in a couple of groups.
That's the slot. Let's make alt at home.
Sure hope your X output performs as advertised.
Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Security system overrun. I am in control. Personnel neutralized.
Finally, we have the Smasher fight. The Smasher fight in Don't Fear the Reaper is not any harder than normal. Typically, I just use the problem solver in point blank range. Due to its extremely fast fire rate, short circuit, and amazing crit damage, you make very quick work of Smasher. In 1.3, Smasher was given some invuln phases, likely for dialogue lines, so just keep that in mind.
Alt! You here?
What's with the door? Don't strain yourself now.
Interesting. Come here. Where is Rome? Wanted no part of this raid, the old cunt. Once I finish with you, I'll hunt her down.
That's the complete walkthrough for Don't Fear the Reaper at a low level. A couple of extra miscellaneous tips for you. You'll gain several levels during the fight since you're fighting high level enemies. They don't persist when you reset to the point of no return, but you can spend the attributes and perk points mid-run if you find they'll be beneficial. Next, don't forget that you can also use the Kiroshi Optics trick. Whenever you scan an enemy with your Kiroshi Optics, time is slowed. However, B moves much faster than other units, allowing you to basically Matrix style dodge bullets if you want to. Finally, as a reminder, you can use system reset and optical camo a lot more frequently than how I've used it here. I've just been used to moving on really fast or playing through without those things. If you're struggling, be sure to play patiently, and if you really can't beat it, wait till level 50. If you use a similar build with the same amount of crit damage, you will literally one-shot everything in here. Thanks everybody for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. There's plenty more guides on the channel with more to come. See you later, cheers.
side.